In an era when divorce was a luxury only the wealthy could afford, some British men, particularly from the working class, resorted to a shocking and now unthinkable practice: selling their wives in public markets as a form of informal divorce. Beginning in the late 17th century and continuing well into the 19th and even early 20th centuries, this practice emerged as a desperate workaround in a legal system that made ending a marriage prohibitively expensive and complex. A husband would lead his wife to a market or fairground, often with a rope or halter around her neck, waist, or wrist, mimicking the sale of livestock, and auction her to the highest bidder. These events were public, attended by jeering or curious crowds, and while technically illegal, they were often tolerated by local authorities who saw them as practical solutions to domestic breakdowns. The sales were symbolic, a way of transferring marital responsibility from one man to another, and in some communities, they were accepted as valid separations. Sometimes the women were willing participants, especially if the buyer was a lover or someone they preferred, while other times they were victims of public humiliation and coercion. A well-documented case from 1847 tells of George Ray selling his wife to William Harwood for just 1 shilling, after which Harwood and the woman walked away arm in arm, the wife reportedly smiling, perhaps in relief, perhaps in resignation. As the 19th century progressed and legal reforms like the Matrimonial Causes Act of 1857 made divorce more accessible, the practice began to decline, though it persisted in rural areas, with the last known case in England occurring in 1913. Writers like Thomas Hardy and Charles Dickens immortalized the tradition in fiction to highlight the cruelty and absurdity of outdated laws and social norms. Ultimately, wife selling was a grim reflection of a time when women had virtually no legal identity outside marriage, and when the poor were forced to invent crude, extra-legal means to address the complex realities of domestic life. Far from a quirky historical footnote, it reveals the brutal improvisations that emerge when people are trapped in systems that